Hello, my name is Karl Meneghella, and I'd like to welcome you to this season of Coffee with Karl. In each episode, we welcome guests from all over the world who are here to share their knowledge, insights and wisdom in topics both big and small. Hopefully every episode will also have some tips, tools and takeaways that you can use to further your personal and your professional growth. So thank you very much for joining me in Coffee with Karl. Thank you. Hello, I'm your host Karl Meneghella, and today in Coffee with Karl I'm very pleased to introduce Professor Anandson Kun Anandson. Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you. Sawadee.
How are you today?
Perfect.
Very good. Oh, perfect. I like that. Today we're going to be talking about the importance of speaking and writing, especially for young professionals as they develop their career. Yes. Okay. Why is this so important?
Because they can express themselves verbally and writings to show strength, abilities, capabilities of young generations to public for their careers in the future. Very important that they should show up. How they could show up? By speaking, by writings.
A lot of people, especially in Asia, are very nervous about their level of English. If they want to work for a multinational corporation or for an international entity, often they need English as a language of inclusion. And I believe that if you have, for example, you're Thai, if we meet, say, a Malaysian, the common language will be English. It won't be Bahasa, it won't be Pasar Thai. So I think a lot of Asians are nervous about that. Now, I believe you speak 3 or 4 languages. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the languages that you have?
Thai mainly, English, Laos, and Chinese.
4 languages. The average Western speaker only has 1 language. In fact, the average person from America or England or Canada or Australia has 1 language, English. There might be some exceptions. For example, in the French sector of Canada, they speak some French, or the southern states of America, they might speak some Spanish. But the average Western speaker only has 1 language. And I think there's something very important here is that a lot of Asians have 3 or 4 or even 5 languages. And maybe instead of being nervous about their English proficiency, maybe start being proud of their language abilities. So for those people, do you have any thoughts on how they can improve their English speaking and writing?
I'm very impressive of the language ability of students that I have met for these couple of days. They have good English, some majoring in English, and they look for career in teaching in English, and I suppose that they would teach English in their careers. And also I told them not only English and Khmer they have, but must be an extra language. Could be Chinese, could be Japanese or Koreans for their careers in the future. That could be coupons or the tickets for jobs that they hunt for. So very important, but mainly English, but not only English, but nowadays I feel that in Phnom Penh, in Cambodia, Chinese.
And there's a lot of Chinese
and
business
Japanese.
here.
I think that's very crucial for their careers in the future. But practicing, yes, agree, they need to meet with foreigners. They're enough to speak up, to confront with the foreigners, regardless of languages they're from, but talk to them, to show up their willingness to speak with foreigners, not shy away, not get away.
I think you just hit something very important, a willingness, but also maybe the courage to speak. If you have a visiting professor, for example, go up to them and ask them questions. They're going to welcome the fact that you're asking, even if you feel a bit nervous, but asking them that practices your language. Even reading books, watching YouTube, listening to songs will improve your language proficiency. So as far as practice is concerned, you mentioned about Chinese, for example. I think that's very important. The more languages you have, the more doors are open. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Because they would have the opportunities open for them to get jobs, to pursue careers that they expected for.
Yes.
And also not only working in the hometown, the country, but they can go elsewhere and could be working in the office in Beijing, Shanghai, and elsewhere after they have English or Chinese proficiencies in their careers.
That language is almost as important as a bachelor.
Exactly.
The language,
Exactly.
having that second language is like another degree.
Not just only speaking, but speaking would be the first, but writings and reading as well. I know that very difficult in Chinese because so many characters and speaking Chinese in the north and in the south, they're not the same.
Yes.
They're not the same. So many small dialects in China, Teochew, Cantonese, Mandarins, and so on. So they got to practice for their career fruitfully in the future.
So I'm getting the idea of practice. What about the people who don't consider themselves a confident writer or a confident speaker? Apart from going up to, say, a foreigner, how else can they practice?
First of all, if they could not do, they can hire experts. They can have advisors or supporters or co-workers. Their mother tongues could be Chinese or English or French, but they can work together by employing those experts in language to support and to help them. But for the young generations from this university, I feel that they could speak French, they could speak English beautifully.
And in fact, not just them hiring experts, they could be the experts that are hired if they develop their English proficiency as well as their Khmer or their French or their Chinese. They could be the future experts that are being hired to cross that bridge of language.
Exactly, because they get a good education from these universities. Young generations, now they have all of devices that support them to get information from. In my time, about their ages, never had mobile phones, never had laptop, computers, and so on. But we got to, like myself, I got to practice, train, read, and get acquainted with these devices. But I'm very jealous to them because after get to education, they could do these efficiently devices for communications.
Yes.
But for our age, we got to learn.
Yes, exactly. Could we talk for a minute about these devices or technology? So writing has changed from writing a letter, for example, now to an email, now texting. The language has changed, the writing has changed. What is your opinion about that as far as the changes in what's professional writing, for example, or professional speaking?
First of all, they got to learn and practice writing truly by themselves, writings by hands, by thinking by themselves, not to be dependent on modern or advanced technologies like ChatGPT or AI, and asking AI composing a cover letter or the CV or the resume for you. That is not the good things that I would like to expel and to teach students here. They got to practice and do by hands, by thinking by themselves first, and then using devices and programs, advanced programs that supporting.
Maybe to enhance.
Exactly.
I know that in some Asian countries they'll actually ask for a handwritten letter of introduction. They'll look at the writing and not so much the calligraphy of it, but they'll look at the writing. And I think what you're saying is also good advice for students. If you're using just ChatGPT, for example, to write your resume, the letter you send in and then when they meet you, if the voice is not the same, there's going to be a dissonance, there's going to be a conflict. And I think what you're saying here is practice your own writing so that it's your voice, so that when you do meet for an interview, what they've already had as an introduction, now they see in the person. Is that what you're saying?
Because if you depended on these advanced technologies, for example, AI writing the passage for you, the intention that you would like to aim for by writing by your handwritings, by yourself, you got to compare, you got to look both. Whether the AI would do matching closely to your original thinking, your handwritings or not. But don't trust the chat GPT and AI perfectly. Not just copy them, rely on them and send them, but you got to examine, look at the grammar, look at the number, look at the composition of the
what you're writing,
essays that these devices compose for you.
So in your teaching, you've been teaching with students this weekend for the weekend workshop. How did you find their level of writing? Because I know they're in the classroom without any technology there. They were writing themselves. What did you have them write?
We don't have much time. My two classes, I don't have much time for them to writing in English. That is not the mission of my workshop. But I just asked them to write up a resume. So I see a little bit their abilities of writings, but else must be from other classes or other programs on this.
So were they able to cope with that, to write the resume?
They understand the structure. For example, resumes, they understand the structure. I proposed them the structures of writing resumes, and they can follow the section, the structure, and write up. I would say this afternoon I would examine all of those and turn them back to students, because I asked them to do some exercise, writing resume. But we don't have much time asking them to write the CV. CV would take longer, 4 or 5 pages, but CV would get enough information to look around. But the resume, only 1 page or 2 pages would be long enough for them to compose. Perhaps, maybe it would be the basic form, basic thinking, or the basis for the future that they could write a resume for their careers, for their job hunting.
As a closure, is there anything you'd recommend? And you've talked about practicing, you've talked about willingness, you've talked about confidence. What would be sort of your advice for those students who are out there who want to improve their reading, or their writing and their speaking?
Not to be like a John Wayne, the actor, riding on a horse with a rifle, shooting enemies, or die. But have consultations, have allies, have friends, have teachers to help you. Present your writings to them. Ask them for suggestions or guidelines for them. So that would be helpful to students.
So asking questions?
I talked to them. I told them on this. Ask your friends to read the passage. Ask your friend to read the project proposal, to get comments, suggestions, and then upper level teachers, and then not to present to parents, because parents would have another attitude, direction of suggestions. Ask those in academia that they could support and help on the writings of, for example, proposal or case study. Because nowadays in business, they not just ask you to come and interview you, ask you questions, and then go back home waiting for the answer. But they would throw you the questions, they would throw you the case study, let you analyze, have the analytical method that the employer would see the person would clever enough, analytical mindset in his brain, his heart, or not. So this is a kind of not just only testing, but to show up competency, abilities on analytical domain.
So if I understand this correctly, you're not alone. So you're not John Wayne on the prairie by yourself. Instead, you're part of a community, and there are people you can ask for feedback, which involves trust, but asking them for feedback in your writing, in your speaking, in your presentations. So engaging in group work, for example, at university when you're doing a PowerPoint presentation, welcoming the feedback. And I think the more skills you develop, the more prepared you will be for those interviews for your career, for aptitude tests, that kind of thing. Is that correct?
Yes.
There's a lot of wisdom there, Professor. Thank you so much for your time today. And I hope that your students realise the gift you are giving them of helping them improve their speaking and their writing. Thank you very much. A pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank you for joining me in this episode of Coffee with Karl. Hopefully the episode was a benefit in your personal and professional growth, and the tips, tools and takeaways will further help you. Thank you.